Hi, I'm Eliot from Magoosh, and in this video, we're going to think about IELTS Writing Task 2, and we're going to focus on vocabulary, categories of vocabulary you should know in order to do your best on this part of the test. So let's go through some of these. I'll provide a couple of examples for you in each category. Okay, let's start with the first category here, giving opinions. Of course, you're going to have to give opinions on many of your Task 2 essays, so you need some words and phrases to help you do that. You're probably aware of the phrase, in my opinion, right? But how about a similar phrase like, in my view, right? You can say that, it means exactly the same thing as in my opinion, but it's a different way of saying it. That can help you to not repeat yourself if you need to present a couple of perspectives in your response. You can also use another vocabulary word there like, in my perspective, right? That works too. I think. Okay, you can even use a phrase like, I would maintain. Okay, that sounds kind of formal, but it means that you are making an argument. You put that in front of an argument you're making, and you can present your opinion afterwards. Okay, so those are some ideas for giving opinions. Okay, another category of words, phrases you should know, are words that help you to add something to what you've just said. Okay, so there are a few words, phrases like that are going to help you. Okay, so in addition is one. You've just presented one idea and then you want to present a second related idea. You can begin that sentence with a phrase like in addition, comma, and then continue, and you can add that second idea. Lets the reader know you're adding an idea that's related to the one that you just mentioned. Okay, another word like that, similar, is moreover. Okay, you can use moreover at the beginning of a sentence, put a comma and continue. And that, again, gives the idea that you're continuing on with an idea you've just talked about and you're adding something to it. Okay, so that's another word that's very useful for that function. Another category that's very useful is making contrasts. Some of your Task 2 writing tasks will ask you to contrast two things, to point out differences between them. Okay, so some useful phrases there. If you're presenting contrasting information, you can say in contrast or by contrast. Both work just fine. You can also use however to present contrasting information, right? If you've just mentioned one thing, and you want to say something that seems to go against or contradict even what you've just said, or is in some way different, it goes in a different direction from what you just said, you can put a however at the beginning of a sentence, put a comma, continue on with that sentence. And that's a way to introduce that you're presenting something that kind of goes against or contrasts with what you've just written or said in your response. Another category of vocabulary, words and phrases you should know for Task 2 are conditions, right? Conditions, things like if one thing happens, then another thing happens. Well, you don't want to use if and then many times in your writing. You can use other words like unless or otherwise, okay? These are other words, other possibilities to present relationships that might be conditional in some way. Okay, the next category, examples. You're going to want to provide lots of examples of things, right? Details in your writing. And you're probably familiar with the phrase, for example, right? You can, if you're providing some detail on something, an example of something, you begin the sentence, for example, comma, and continue your sentence, and you can provide those details. But a way to avoid saying, for example, over and over and over in your writing is to say something like, for instance, right? Instance is another, it means exactly the same thing as for example, it's just a different word. And it gives you a little more, another option for a way to introduce an example, something that you're talking about. But there are other words, phrases too, such as, right? You can put in a such as in the middle of your sentence, and you can provide a detail or an example of something, right? So that's probably something you've studied before. But anyway, the point is to limit the number of for examples you're using. You of course you definitely need to provide lots of details, lots of examples. You just don't want to use that phrase over and over and over again. So use something else, such as, or for instance instead. That's going to help you to remove a couple of those for examples from your response. Another category that you should know about here is to talk about results of something. What happened because of another thing that occurred. So you can talk about sort of what the final outcome was of whatever it is you're talking about, right? And for that, the phrase we would use with the word result is as a result. So as a result of X, whatever you're talking about, and you can describe what that was, okay? Another phrase, another word we could use to describe the result of something would be consequently, right? You can put that at the beginning of a sentence, consequently, comma, and then you can describe what the result of that thing was. Okay, so just two examples here of a category of words that you should try to fill out, try to add words to. And to help you to do that, we've got a great resource for you. We've got a guide to IELTS vocabulary. If you look down in the description below, you can get a link to that guide. And we've got more words in each of these categories that we've talked about in this video to help you with all these different types of vocabulary words and phrases that you should know for Task 2. And there's lots of vocabulary and words and phrases and other useful stuff for you that's going to help you on other parts of the exam as well. Task 1 in writing, the speaking section, and so on. Okay, so now if you like this video, check out these other videos that we have over here. Lots of great stuff there about the IELTS exam that's going to help you do your best on exam day.